answers that you're looking for are lying just beyond the frame.
So before we take a deeper dive into the movie and also head into spoiler territory, I want to give you some fun facts.
Please, I'd love to hear them.
Behind the scenes here of the making of 28 years later.
Yeah.
Fact one, the island where the uninfected people live in this movie is an actual island, Holy Island, or I don't know if I'm going to say this right, but I'm going to try Lindisfarne.
Oh, you mean the island where? Oh, yes, the uninfected. Sorry,
Lindisfarne Island, where the uninfected live.
Got it. Okay.
Is an actual island that is connected to the mainland of the UK by an actual 5-mile long causeway, the Holy Island Causeway. And just as in the movie, it appears during low tide and disappears during high tide.
Fascinating.
Yes. Alex Garland, who wrote this, stayed on the island and wrote, as he put, quote, a big chunk of the script there.
I love that. I wonder how they found that. I mean, that's a dream for this kind of story, to have that island separated by the... I mean, that's just such a cool...
It's very cool. And in the UK, it's a well-known place, Holy Island.
Oh, okay.
It's got, I think... 200 some odd inhabitants, but it was...
What's on there?
It was a church was built there more than 1,500 years ago.
How the hell do you get to it?
Yeah, well, through that causeway or a boat.
But you said 200 people inhabitant?
I think it's a little bit more than 200 people live there. Yeah, right now.
Wow,
It's a tiny
what
place.
A bizarre...
But it doesn't even have a store, I believe. You have to drive but it's got 3 pubs.
Can you ride your bike across the causeway?
Sure.
It'd be a long walk.
It would be a long walk. Actually, I don't know because it's not. I don't know that it's that wide. I mean, we saw it in the movie. That's the real causeway.
It looked like you could just get one bike across, but you're not biking both ways.
Well, and you can get a car. You can get
True.
It is wide enough because it was wide enough for wagons back in the day.
Man. Driving a car on that?
Yeah, no kidding. Wow. I think that's just so cool.
That is cool. Thank you for that.
So fact 2, we've already discussed ad nauseum, but it was filmed almost exclusively with iPhone 15 Pro Max phones, hundreds of them. And it was done for several reasons. Lightweight, it can record in 4K, and according to director Danny Boyle, I thought this was interesting, and we did not touch on this yet, because people are so familiar with iPhones, he feels that actors are, quote, slightly different with it, which I thought was interesting, and I wish I could ask him, can you expand on that, please?
Yeah, that's a very psychological...
So he's thinking that, they're performing differently for a handheld device than for a setup rig. I don't know.
Interesting, because I saw some of the rigs. I mean, they still had these massive lenses on the end of them, so I would think you still got the... But it is a lot smaller, a lot more compact, a lot less obtrusive.
A lot less obtrusive, so it's not this thing out of the corner of your
massive,
eye.
Steady camera or crane coming in. It's just this iPhone on a lens. So yeah, I can get that. That's how that would be maybe... I mean, as an actor, would that be more or less...
It would feel more like out of the corner of your eye, just people standing around watching you. So it might feel more like being in a play.
A theater. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Even if they are carrying that particular array that you might have seen the picture of, that it's this curved platform that has 20 iPhones all tilted so that they're facing in the same direction, but you can move this thing around. Even that is pretty unobtrusive out of the corner of your eye, I would think.
Yeah.
So it might give a slightly different performance, but it's hard for me to say.
To imagine that.
And does that mean it would be a better performance? I mean, if it's a slightly different performance, in what sense?
Yeah, does that mean it's better?
Can you qualify that?
Sure.
I do not know. I just thought that was fascinating.
Fair.
So fact 3. This is about the alpha zombie.
There's been a lot of talk online about the alpha zombies.
So it might, understandably, it might be a bit of a spoiler, but I think you're going to be okay. This won't ruin the movie for you. For those wanting to meet this actor, for one obvious reason, his endowment was a prosthetic.
Yeah.
So sorry, I guess
to put the rumors to bed here.
Exactly.
I thought it was Jason Momoa.
He did look like that, didn't he?
I swore it was, but I literally looked it up afterwards because I was like, no way Jason Momoa did this.
Yeah, no,
and
it wasn't.
No, it was not him, but it looked a lot like him. And God, that guy was ripped out of his skills.
Yeah, he's a large buff guy.
They picked a good
alpha male dude.
Yeah, but it's been so funny just online, the response. Everyone's been like, we got to talk about those, well-endowed zombies on. Like, what was up with that?
Funny.
It's just a funny way to show, like, I guess that's an alpha.
It must be.
Other than him, are we in spoiler territory yet?
I was just about to say, Spoilers. It's official. We're now in spoiler territory.
Spoilers, go watch the movie. The other like telltale sign of it being an alpha was ripping somebody's spine out of their body,
which was an impressive thing to do.
Yeah. I'm not sure which one's more scary. A guy coming at you with a,
No kidding.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Depends on what he's going to do with that thing.
Yeah, exactly.
So this is where Ryan and I take some themes and we dive a little bit deeper into the movie. And
yes,
I gotta say there's so much to talk about that seriously I felt a little almost overwhelmed sitting down here to write these notes.
Interesting. Would you land on, or did you land on multiple?
Well, the way I want to approach this is we're just gonna take a look at some scenes and themes and we'll discuss those. So I've just got a number of them.
Okay.
So Spike goes to the mainland with his father. It's kind of a rites of passage kind of thing.
Yeah, everybody's excited.
Everyone's excited. So it's a very festive thing. You're supposed to be 14, but he was 12. Dad thought he was ready.
Yep.
And the whole town rallies behind this. It's a big deal to go to the mainland and come back.
Yeah.
Particularly because they only go over there armed with arrows.
Which is crazy.
But they're also silent, so you don't want to attract more zombies with the noise of a gun, and
Makes
God
sense.
knows if they still have any ammo whatsoever. So we don't know that they really have any functioning guns.
Mm-hmm.
Eric does, but we'll get to Eric later. So there's a party for Spike when he returns.
Yep.
And his father, played beautifully by Alfie. Spike is played beautifully by Alfie Williams. It's his first feature movie. Dang.
Really?
Yeah.
Good for him.
No kidding.
Good for you, Alfie.
They get back and it's a party. Everyone drinking and music and dancing. And his dad gets up there. His dad, Jamie, played by Aaron Taylor Johnson, and he tells a whole bunch of tall tales about how brave Spike was and how he killed these zombies like no problem whatsoever. That wasn't the reality of it. And Spike he didn't dig it.
He wasn't jiving with it.
He wasn't jiving with it at all.
And we learned that even more so when he goes back home. And then he talks to I don't know what they're, like an uncle or just like a caretaker kind of guy.
Yeah, exactly. And talks to him about it. But there was innocence lost in two ways. Innocence lost in this was his first journey to the mainland, and then innocence lost to come back and watch his dad give a completely different retelling for the sake of, riling up the party. But also he sees Dad macking down with Rosie.
As his mom's sick in bed.
As his mom is sick in bed
home,
back at home. And so there's a loss of innocence in that way.
Yeah,
that's a
tough night.
That is in one
especially
night.
what you've just been through.
Exactly.
You've just been onto the mainland for the first time. You've just seen zombies in person for the first time. You've killed one of them. That's a lot. That's enough on its own.
Because can you imagine the life they've been living in, what he's been raised in, with no TV or anything else? He doesn't even know what a zombie looks like.
Yeah, I mean,
he's never encountered one.
Somebody draw it for you. That's
totally.
It.
And there's a certain speed of their life.
Yeah.
And not all zombies have the same speed. Obviously, there are the crawlers. But then the ones that move fast are moving really fast, and they're coming at you with deadly intent.
They're track stars.
So I was that's a good way to put it. So I was really trying to put myself in Spike's shoes of like, yeah, you run yourself and you have friends and stuff, but now you've got this thing running at you with intent to kill you.
Yeah, it's totally different. Totally different.
My goodness.
That'll really age you fast. That'll talk about coming of age.
No kidding.
Boy, he came to age real quick.
Really fast. And his dad's kind of quasi-cavalier attitude, except when they start to get in trouble. And then when dad starts to get nervous, son starts, they get themselves in a pretty precarious position.
If dad's nervous, something's up. We're in a problem.
And dad got nervous.
Yeah.
Because they definitely got into trouble.
Because that alpha shows up.
Exactly. And he's a different kettle of fish.
Mm-hmm.
And they hide out in the house, and you can see the alpha standing there waiting for them.
Yeah, scary.
Wow.
Yeah. What I thought, I'm glad that you brought up the scene because it's so heartbreaking for... I mean, we saw them interact in the morning, him and his father, and there seemed to be like a good relationship between the two of them.
There seemed to be, you could almost say, reverence.
Yeah.
That he had for his father.
Respect. Yeah. And now, after all this takes place, I think he realized how different he was from his father.
Very, very quickly. You know, because his father is taking care of the mom who has an begrudgingly, but we don't know the level of how much he begrudges this.
Yeah.
We're not aware of that yet.
We get a small, which I liked this moment, we get a small moment when he's about to go upstairs at breakfast to go attend to his wife, and Spike looks up in the mirror and sees his dad just kind of like...
That's true. That's true. That was the first indication.
And then he goes up. And that's the first
indication
where he clocks like,
yeah,
okay, Dad's not real hip about.
No.
Which, understandably.
Yeah,
of course,
exactly.
You know, if you've done that, we don't know. Maybe he's been doing that for 10 years.
Oh, that's exactly right. We don't
taxing.
know that. We had the impression that this has been going on for a while.
Right.
And again, we don't know what's wrong with Isla.
And this scene with them at the party and everything sets up a fantastic, interesting dynamic that's now going to play out for the rest of the second act of the tension between the two characters and this sort of turn of Spike.
And I thought it was, you know, Spike comes across as he's not a big buff 12-year-old kid. He seems pretty sweet.
Yeah, and he's a little bit he's smaller, scrawny. He's a little bit scared.
A little bit scared, and which was part of why it was interesting that his dad is bringing him over to the mainland, you know, when he's 12 and not 14. And part of the council's hesitation of like, because you have to get approval from the council to go to the mainland, particularly for the youngins. And they're like, you know?
I don't know if he's ready yet. And then he's, oh, no, he's ready.
Right.
It says more about the dad.
It
ego.
does. That's exactly. And I think Spike saw signs of, like, he was starting to look at his dad differently, like his attitude towards the kills, too. He was just kind of looking at, there were moments where just, you got the impression that Alfie's starting to look at his dad differently. I had that impression. I thought it was very subtle. But
and this could be a case for, it's just the difference between, it's not just, but it's a little bit of the difference between somebody who's new to this world.
True.
In Spike and somebody who's lived it for
and I
40 years.
Exactly. And I thought about that too. And he's also trying to convey a certain sense of calm and not being blasé, but just like he wants to instill in his son that we have the advantage. We can do this. We are doing this.
Yeah, he wants to instill confidence in him.
Exactly,
He's trying to
I
be
get that.
A father and raise his son to be able to survive on his own. I mean, that's what we all do, right?
And so there were unintended consequences of that day and that night that made Spike find his own backbone in a sense and find his own feet.
Yeah,
and he did it really, really well.
Yeah, he did.
And he didn't do it with bravado. He was shaky about it. And that's where going to the uncle and talking to him about it was so realistic, and it just tracked. It just felt real.
Yeah, it's such a great scene. I love that scene between him and the uncle.
So good.
At night after the party. Yeah, he comes home. Yeah, I love that.
Me too.
And then he goes up to see the mom. Oh, so sweet.
So should we jump to another one?
Let's do it.
Okay.
I'm excited.
So Spike's mom, Isla, played with her usual brilliance by Jodie Comer, is sick, as we've said. And she has a hard time, you could say, staying in the present. And she goes in and out of knowing what's going on around her, coming kind of in and out of consciousness. You can tell she's really trying hard to stay with it, but she just can't. Mm-hmm. And she almost acts kind of like a zombie. And so you're wondering, is she mildly infected? Like, what's going on with this? Yeah. And they don't have any doctors on the island, which is a huge disadvantage.
Yeah.
So she clearly doesn't have not clearly. She probably doesn't have the rage virus, but she's got something.
Something's going on.
And because there are no doctors on the island, there's no prognosis whatsoever. So Spike is the only one brave enough to take his mother to what he learns is the only doctor around, and this doctor's on the mainland.
Which this added another layer to the dad relationship as well, because he asks him about what's that fire.
Yeah,
and his dad,
that guy's insane.
Yeah, he kind of just brushes it off. That guy's
Dr.
insane.
Kelsen is insane.
And then Spike learns it's a doctor who can help people.
Yes.
And then, so do you not want mom to get well?
Right. Well, and dad had an encounter, or at least witnessed something that he didn't understand, that Kelsen was doing.
And wrote it off.
Mm-hmm. And thought, that guy's insane. He's gone mad.
Yep.
Which you could understand.
Totally.
But also, if you think about it, there he is living on the mainland by himself. He's been living this long. Are you really... have you completely lost it?
He's got some
and you're able to,
that I want.
Exactly. And the fact that the son made that decision so quickly after that night happened.
Yeah.
It's like lost a ton of respect for his father. And turns to his mom like, I'm going to try to get you help. No one's tried to get you help.
It's such a... interesting. I didn't even think about it until we're talking about it now, but it's such an interesting dynamic because it sets up that the guy who was supposedly the man of the house.
That's right. Was not taking care of business.
And Spike had to grow up and
he made that decision so quickly.
The love of a parent, the love of
really
your mother.
Impressive.
Yes, how strong.
And it was also because Spike lost a ton of respect for his father.
I'm not going to be that kind of guy.
Exactly.
I'm going to take care of you, Mom.
And all y'all on the island have known that there's a doctor there for how long?
Yeah.
And we go to the mainland to get supplies, to do things, and yet we don't ever have contact with the only known doctor in our world.
Pretty bizarre to me.
Interesting.
Too,
and it took a 12-year-old kid to look at that differently. With fresh eyes and say, wait, there's a freaking medical doctor.
Yeah.
That's within reach.
Yeah.
Come on, Ma, let's go.
Yeah, we're breaking you out of here, man.
I gotta say, I really loved that.
Me too.
I really loved that.
Agreed. That's a great character moment.
It is a great character moment. And again, is this a zombie movie?
It's a movie with zombies in it. That's for sure.
So let's take another scene since we're on a roll here.
Please.
So Spike and Isla find Dr. Kelsen, played brilliantly by Ralph Fiennes.
Oh.
And we find that he is not only not a whack job, on the contrary, he's remarkably sane and very respectful of the victims of the virus. And he has built a massive memorial, which made me think of the catacombs in Paris. Have you ever been?
I have not ever been, but I've seen them.
Wow. To the catacombs in Paris. And for all y'all
You've
out
been
there. Yeah.
Wow.
I went early on a Sunday morning and I was the first one down those stairs.
How deep is it?
Pretty deep because these were
do you know what the lore behind? Like, what's the point of this?
Yeah. There were cemeteries in Paris that were these are the bones of over 6 million people that are down there.
Whoa.
And these cemeteries were overflowing and they were having structural issues and they realized we have to move all these bones and remains out of the cemeteries of Paris.
Wow.
And they put them down in these abandoned limestone shafts. The limestone that built most of the buildings of Paris of the 1700s came from the limestone that they mined right there.
Whoa, that's a trip.
And so these mines existed. And so for years, it started in 1788, I believe, and every night wagons would just filled with people's bones would go and from the cemeteries. And it took a few years, I believe. And
I bet. That's
they
bizarre.
have thigh bones all stacked up. So you go down this corridor, this mine shaft, and it's nothing but thigh bones.
Real.
Oh yes, they're quite real.
Yeah, that's real people.
So
yeah.
I got down there, and like I said, I was the first person down these stairs. So I've talked to friends who've been there when it's packed, which would freak me out. But it was practically empty. So I just felt like it was me and the bones of 6 million people.
Whoa.
There were some areas that just had skulls.
That is
so they
insane.
were beautifully stacked with a shit ton of respect,
Sure.
just like Dr. Kelsen's memorial.
Yeah, absolutely. It was
to the dying,
Yeah.
to the dead. Excuse me. Spike and Isla meet the doctor, who's covered in iodine.
Because he's figured out that they don't like that.
That's
the
right.
infected.
So he's got this red stuff all over him. And he tells them pretty quickly on his philosophy, his way of seeing things, and he uses this Latin saying "memento mori," which is remember that you must die, or remember that you have to die if you're going to get picky about the Latin, which has its roots in ancient Greek philosophy as well as early Christianity, and he really devotes his life to remembering those who left us as a result of this rage virus.
Yeah, it's fascinating.
I was so surprised by the turn that this movie took, and by the depth of what he was doing. So far from being insane, this man was showing reverence, profound respect, and remembering all of those who came before us. It was extraordinary. He was extraordinary.
Not so crazy after all.
Not so crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the scene, we'll just say it briefly, that the dad was like, oh, he's crazy, is because he saw him stacking bodies up.
That's right. Right. And
so from a distance, if you see this, I can imagine that'd be a little bit odd. Like, what is he doing? He's gathering the dead.
Well, and he's not just gathering the dead in like heaps.
Yeah, he's
incredibly organized
precision,
rows.
Yeah,
there's a lot of precision, and true.
I can imagine seeing that and being like,
yeah, but also, I mean, that was done out of respect too.
And to see the way that all came together to memory, remember all these people and not forget them as, infected and human beings alike.
That's right.
It's just, we're all...
we all mattered. We were all here once, and then we're all going to turn to bones and dust.
We all end up in the same place.
We do. Yeah. And I thought, I was just so taken by, look, can you imagine the energy and the engineering know-how it would take to build the pillars that he built out of bones?
Yeah, I mean, years and years and years and years and years of work.
Stunning.
And a beautiful symbol.
Yeah, fantastic.
Pretty extraordinary.
So we two more things I want to discuss. We got to keep it moving, because I could keep going on that one. Yes. I just want to say Eric, the Swedish guard, played by Edvin Writing, was fantastic. I loved him.
He was great. He was hilarious.
That's all. I just wanted to say that.
Yeah, no, he was funny.
So the last scene I want to bring up is Isla's prognosis and her death, which was, to me, dignified and beautiful.
Yeah, agreed. I couldn't agree more. I knew when I saw it, when I stepped out of it, that's part of why I was like, man, me and Joe got to break this down. We got to talk about this, because I know that we'd have a lot to say about it, because we share quasi-similar philosophies on life. And I feel like this, to me, was so beautiful. I just loved this entire scene. It was like, it brought me to tears. It moved me. Just the way... the celebration of life, and also death, of memento mori. Remember, you're gonna we're all gonna die.
Yeah,
us in different ways. That's what the doctor's character says. Not all. Some people die of old age, and some people become infected.
Yeah.
And this is your mother's. This is how she goes.
Yeah.
And I thought it was so sweet. Once. He kind of steps away, gets the dart gun. He just gets him a little bit relaxed, and then they have this like moment where she can go.
And right. And what Ryan's saying is that you mean Spike being slightly sedated.
Yes.
So that he couldn't resist, so that he couldn't fight the mom who knew that she had to go.
Yeah.
And she'd made the decision, and her quality of life was over. And it was the right decision to make. And yes, Dr. Kelsen did slightly seduce Spike, and so that the two of them could have a lovely moment. And then her passing reminded me of Kill Bill 2 in a way, which you still need to see. I
know, yeah, I haven't seen it yet.
There's thinking in Dzogchen Buddhism that you come through a big door when you're born, so to speak, and you go through a big door when you pass away. And how you go through that door when you pass away matters.
Okay.
How do you meet that?
Yeah.
And ideally, if you can, according to this particular way of looking at things, you want to meet that either sitting up or standing up, because it's like meeting a good friend. And you want to be able to hold yourself up, and you want to meet that with respect.
Okay.
And so not a lot of people can do that. A lot of people pass away lying down and very passive.
Sure.
And the way she passed, she was walking away from the doctor, and he did the blow dart with morphine.
Yeah.
And that took her down. That was a deadly amount. And I just thought he gave her a fantastic death.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
she was suffering.
She was suffering. And then to have, and then what he would do was he would use a furnace, if you will, an oven, and cook away the flesh and have the bones. And he gave her skull to Spike to put where he wanted to on this particular structure of skulls. And Spike went to the very top.
And put it on the top as like the tree topper. Yeah. It was just such a beautiful scene, man. The score, everything was just so moving. And that's when I was like, this was not the movie I thought I was going to see today.
So good. So good.
Yeah, just beautifully done.
Beautifully done. A great surprise. So I've got some recommendations if you liked 28 Years Later.
Please, I loved it. Let me see what I'm
going
to watch next.
I will say right now, it's mostly going to be a Danny Boyle thing.
Okay, that's fine.
And that is a beautiful thing with one exception. The first one is you got to see 28 Days Later.
Of course.
Because it's a freaking classic.
Where it all started.
Exactly.
Killian.
Exactly.
Them shooting early mornings to make it look like London is completely abandoned. Cool.
I read a little bit of trivia about that.
Yeah,
awesome.
So cool.
The second one, I love this movie, Children of Men from 2006, written and directed by Alfonso. I don't know if I've said I don't know if I'll say his name right.
Cuarón, something like that. Yeah.
I forgive me because I love this guy's movies. Y Tu Mama Tambien, Gravity, Roma, just. Oh my God. And he writes and directs these movies.
It's so fascinating.
The guy is just such a fierce talent.
My girlfriend and I just, New York Times just released their top 100 movies of the 21st century.
I saw, what a great
Did you see this list?
Yes.
He's got like 4 movies on there, and this is one of them, Children of Men.
It's so good.
All right.
So I highly recommend it. And it stars Clive Owen, Julianne Moore, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Michael Caine.
Quite a cast.
Yeah, it takes place in the far future of 2027, in a chaotic world in which women have somehow become infertile, and a former activist agrees to help transport a miraculously pregnant woman to a sanctuary at sea.
Whoa!
Yeah, it's
intense.
So beautifully done.
Okay.
Number 3 is Sunshine, which also teamed Alex Garland and Danny Boyle. About a team of, as they did in this movie 28 Years Later, as a team of international astronauts is sent on a dangerous mission to reignite the dying sun with a nuclear fission bomb in 2027.
Whoa.
Part horror film, part existential dread piece, visually stunning throughout.
Okay.
So I highly recommend that as well. The next one is Millions. I already touched on that. It's directed by Danny Boyle, and it stars a phenomenal Alex Attell as it's a sweet, underrated film about a boy who finds a fortune.
Okay.
And it really shows Boyle's range, as we were alluding to earlier.
Interesting.
And the last one I have to recommend is Shallow Grave, starring Ewan McGregor and Christopher Eccleston, and it's Boyle's directorial debut. It's a darkly comic thriller about greed and paranoia.
All right, we're going on a Boyle binge.
For sure. I highly recommend a Boyle binge, with the one exception. So just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. And remember, as always, you are the main character of your own life. So don't be afraid to take a step back and look at the bigger picture, because sometimes the answers that you've been looking for are lying just beyond the frame. We'll see you next time.
Peace.